Hello, everyone. Congrats on getting into Duke. We are so excited to have you all on campus in the fall. Tonight, we're going to host a live question and answer chat. So while you're typing your questions in the comment section below, we're going to go around and introduce ourselves a little bit. So my name is Hannah Chen. I'm a junior studying economics and a markets and management certificate. I'm from North Carolina, and on my free time, I like to watch movies, listen to Harry Potter audibles, go on runs, and play with my hedgehog. We are going to move to Madison.
Hi everyone, I'm Madison. I'm a senior right now, which is kind of crazy. I'm studying public policy and global health here at Duke. I'm on break right now for winter break. I just got home, which is awesome. When I'm not doing stuff related to like work or Duke students, I'm a tour guide. I just finished an honors thesis, so turned that in just like last week, which is really exciting. I did Duke Engage in New Orleans, so if you have any questions about Duke Engage, also studied abroad in Stockholm. I've really enjoyed exploring Durham, especially the different coffee shops and cute places to eat.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a sophomore. I'm studying political science with minors in Spanish and French. And my favorite thing is acting. And I know that makes sense to my majors, but that's what I want to do is I want to act.
Hi everyone, I'm Daria. I'm a junior. I'm an international student from Kazakhstan. I'm studying economics and a minor in visual media studies and theater studies. And in my free time, I like to do figure skating, film for Duke Students YouTube channel, and yeah, just hang out.
So our first question is, how do I make friends during my first year? Let's see. As I guess the closest one of us to a freshman would be Sam. So Sam, if you would like to answer this one.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many ways. Obviously, some people swear by doing a prio, and I think that's helpful. I did P waves, they call it, which is where you go to the beach. But I also didn't get the majority of my friends from this. In fact, most of my friends just came from people who lived in my hall. So prios are awesome and fun. But if you don't end up doing a prio, don't worry about it. A pre-orientation is what I meant by prio, by the way. It's a program where you get together with other Duke students like a couple weeks before school starts. Fun, like go to the beach or do community service, like in P-build, or you go camping in P-wild. But even if you don't do that, you can meet so many people just in your hall. Like I'm still best friends with 6 girls who lived in my hall freshman year. Madison, do you want to add to something?
Yeah, so I did a pre-orientation program too, but I feel like there's so many ways to meet people your freshman year. And I think what's the best part about your first year at Duke is that everyone lives on East Campus. So it's really natural getting to know one another. You'll go to Marketplace where you eat all together. Your dorm will be filled with freshmen. So you'll meet people in the halls and pretty much like everywhere you go. So I found it to be like really natural and super easy. So I wouldn't stress too much about it. I think it's really exciting to basically have like 1900 or so new friends.
Our next question is from Jimmy, and he asked, what's the difference between North and South Campus? I don't know if I'm being honest, I don't know if we have a North and South Campus, but we do have an East and West Campus, and I can explain the difference between those. So East Campus residentially is exclusively for freshmen. Yes, it wasn't for one semester, but it is now. But so all the dorms on East and the cafeteria on East is like all for freshmen. It's like a freshman haven. And I remember when I was a freshman, I loved living on East because everyone that you bumped into would be, just as lost or just like on the same level as you are. However, during the day, there are some classes that happen on East that anyone can take. West Campus is like I don't know, I call it like the main Duke campus. That's where the chapel is. That's where West Union is, or the Broadhead Center. That's the main eating thing. And I would say like 60% of the classes take place on West Campus. If anyone has anything to add. Okay, no one has anything to add. Next question is, who are the famous coaches on campus from David? Well, there's Coach K, who's like the basketball coach, obviously. I'm not very big on sports, so anyone can take this away from me.
Yeah, there's Coach K. He's great. Sometimes he makes appearances on campus. The other day, there was some menorah lighting event, I think, and Coach K came out and lit one of the menorahs and like gave a little speech. So he's around. He's a little mysterious and hard to find, but he's around. Yeah, I don't know. Who are the other main coaches? I know there are tons of coaches. We're not just basketball. Anyone want to add? Anyone? Well, yep, that's Coach K. Oh, there's Coach Cutcliffe as well. He's our football coach. Our football team is getting better and better, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry if like, none of us know that much about like the sports or coaches on campus, and I apologize for that. Next question is, what is your favorite meal to eat on campus? Or what is your favorite place to eat on campus? I will go to Darcy.
My favorite place right now is definitely Thrive. I live on Central Campus now, which is going to be non-existent next year. But I think they will move Thrive somewhere on West. But it's just a great place. They have so many cool like balls. Like they have the chicken ball, it's real good. They have the salmon ball, and they also just have like random things. Like we just bought like Gouda cheese from there, or just like ice cream or something like that, and it's just like super nice because everything's like super fresh, and it feels very healthy too. So whenever I feel like being healthy, I go and like get a salad from there or something. And I also like that it's very close to the dorms, to where I live, so it's great. I also like West Union's the Indian place that I cannot remember what it's called, but they have some great food too.
So the Indian place is called Tandoor. It's like one of the most popular places I would say among my friends at Duke. You have to try it when you get there. Next question is, what is Durham like? And Madison said earlier that she likes to explore Durham, so I will take this question to her, and anyone that can add can do so.
Yeah, so there's definitely a ton of things to explore in Durham. I've had a lot of fun now that I'm a senior. I explored a lot my freshman year because what's great about East Campus is you're right off of 9th Street, and there are a ton of restaurants on 9th Street. There's the grocery store there, Harris Teeter. I'm from New Jersey, so I didn't know what a Harris Teeter was before I got to Durham, but it's just a big grocery store. So for Northerners, that's just a PSA. And so it's like really accessible for first year students. Now that a lot of my friends have cars too, you can have a car all 4 years, but now like more as we progress through Duke, more of my friends have cars. We've explored more, like you can go to Durham Performing Arts Center, which recently had Hamilton. I love going to see Durham Bulls, which is a minor league baseball team. There are also a lot of like fun art galleries, restaurants. I'm a big foodie, and Durham's been called the foodiest city of the South. So I'm a big pizza girl. So I go to a lot of like Pizzeria Toro. I really like Il Forno, which is on campus. So there are a lot of great options for you to explore in Durham, no matter what you're interested in.
Also, I can add to this. So I studied in France this summer in Aix-en-Provence, and my roommate and I, we started a list there of all the things we wanted to do in Aix-en-Provence. And then we got back here and we started recreating that list in Durham. So we have like all these things on our phones. We have a shared note of the things we want to do in Durham. I'll just read some of the things. There's Snow Factory, which is a rolled ice cream place, which is super snazzy. Most of these are food. And then there's we want to go to Costco. That's not that exciting, but that's on there. Like tons of restaurants. It's super fun. Lots of great food.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm just gonna echo what everyone else said. I think it's much more accessible. It's Ninth Street is so close to East Campus, and a lot of the times freshman year, people can go off campus if they're sick of the marketplace food. I will say, however, visiting Durham is a lot more accessible if you have a car on campus, and I would say most people start to begin to explore Durham more and more as they go like from sophomore year to junior year to senior year. The next question is from Andrew, and he asks if the pre-orientation programs are worth it. I did not do a pre-orientation program, but it seems like multiple people here did. So I will go to Darcy.
Yeah, so I did a program called P-Search. It has like two tracks. One is humanities, another one is sciences, and I did the humanities track. And so it's basically for people who didn't have a lot of like research experience in high school, and it was a great time because we arrived on campus like 3 weeks before everybody else. So it was pretty empty, but we got to explore everything. And I just remember when everyone came to campus for like orientation week, we already knew everything. We knew how to take a bus. We knew how to like get to different places, and it was really great. And the pre-orientation program itself was just very interesting, and we got to explore Durham. We just I made like great friends there too, and I also learned quite a bit. And then coming into like my writing 101 class was not very hard after that. And I really think that pre-orientation programs are definitely worth it. I have friends who did like P-Art, P-Build, and other programs, and everyone has like such different but very positive experiences. And I just think it's a great way to get your life at Duke started, because when everyone comes, you're just all settled down. You get to like move in early, maybe too, and then you have friends. Yeah, and it's just a great opportunity for you.
And so, yeah, as I mentioned before, I did P waves. And so my take on Prios is if you have an interest that matches one of the Prios that exist, I would say definitely go for it. Like if you're really into art, do arts, because those are the people you're probably going to end up hanging out with anyway. But I wouldn't put so much pressure on yourself to do a Prio. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. I did P Waves, which was a fun experience. You get to go see the Marine Lab, and then spend time and like learn, like meet all 80 freshmen about, and like also upperclassmen. But I definitely wouldn't stress out about that because you have a full orientation week with your entire freshman class once you get to campus, and also 8 semesters to get to know each other. So the 1 or 2 weeks won't make that big of a difference, I don't think.
Yeah, so I did not do pre-orientation. However, summer before going into freshman year was something that I stressed out about a lot. I didn't know if I should do P Wild, if I should or I shouldn't. It was, really stressful for me to decide. In the end, I didn't end up doing it, and it's not a regret. It's not a decision that I regret. So, if that's anything. Next question is the library a good study spot? We as Duke students all study very much, so I think we can all answer to this a little, but yes, I think so. Perkins is the biggest library, like the main library on West Campus or all of Duke. Lilly is the main campus on East Campus, or the main library on East Campus. I personally always preferred Perkins over Lilly, And my favorite floor to study on is the 4th. Someone can take it from here.
My favorite floor to study in Perkins is the 3rd floor, because it has like a section of Russian literature. So it just makes me so happy to be there. And another great spot in Perkins is the coffee shop. That's Selectilia is what they call it, but we call it Bondi. And they have great coffee and a very nice and cozy atmosphere.
Okay. Does anyone else want to add on to that? Just raise your hand if you do.
I mean, I can add on for a moment too. I also like studying in the graduate school libraries, so you can study in the law school library. I like studying in the business school. I like oftentimes as a public policy major, we'll spend a lot of time in Sanford and the School of Public Policy, and they have like these little study nooks, which I think are really fun. So there's tons of places to study on campus. What I like about the libraries is that you can book a study room. So if you want to study with your friends, you can use like all the whiteboards. I do that before big exams. I think that's like really helpful. And I think Duke does have a collaborative like study and like learning environment. So it's nice to have like that community and be able to like book those study rooms. Also like a ton of resources in the library. Like I always talk to librarians, especially when I was doing my thesis. Would chat the librarians. You're able to do that online through the Duke libraries if you need any resources. There's a writing studio, so there's like a ton available in the library, so definitely try to take advantage of that. Actually, as a freshman, you'll have your own librarian for each dorm, so that's kind of cool. Fun fact.
Just to add on, one of the study places that I love is the Wellness Center. I don't know how many of you have seen pictures of the Wellness Center. It was this massive glass building, and on the 3rd floor, you can see the chapel. It's like right in front of you, and there are these chairs with little walls around them. It's great. Also, in the basement of Perkins, there's this place called The Link, where they have like tons of those big Mac desktop computers. So sometimes if I'm really stressed, I need to have like a million windows open at a time. I use those. And also they're great they have like a multimedia project studio in The Link that I use a lot for editing videos.
Next question is from Lauren. She asks, are there any convenience stores on campus / can we spend our meal plan money there using our cards? So I'll answer the first half of the question. Yes, there are convenience stores on campus. They're not like a full-blown Walmart or like a full-blown Harris Teeter. However, on East Campus, there is a convenience store. It sells like snacks, ice cream, frozen fruits, eggs, even clothes. And then on West Campus, there's one inside the Bryan Center and smaller scale sells snacks, things like that. And in 300 Swift, which is one of the residential halls, and I believe on Central Campus and Thrive, there is a convenient store of sorts. However, like I think Madison said earlier, or someone said earlier, Harris Teeter, which has basically everything, is a 5-minute walk from East Campus. I will move to Madison to explain the meal plan and how that works and spending money on such.
Yeah. So I'm a senior, so I actually live off campus because you're required to live on campus for 3 years, and you can move off your senior year. So I'm off campus now, so I'm not on the meal plan anymore, but I really liked it because I think it's pretty flexible. So as a freshman, you'll have swipes, and you can use those at Marketplace. Usually go there for breakfast and dinner, so that's a great way to get to know people. I think I met like just a ton of people waiting in line for cereal or trying to get like different pies, and like they always have these fun themed dinners too for Thanksgiving and things. And then you also have food points, and each point, so 1 point will equal $1, and then you can use those at any campus eatery. You can also use those at convenience stores. So I love ice cream, and we'll go get just like a pint of Ben and Jerry's sometimes, and you can do that just through using your Duke card and charging that to your food points. So it's very easy. I wouldn't worry too much about it. You get the hang of it very quickly, but I think the main thing for a freshman is understanding like the difference between swipes, which you can use at Marketplace, and that's all you can eat, like buffet style. You just swipe in, get all the food you could possibly ever need, and then eat and leave. And then with food points, you're paying for like each item, like money. Does that make sense? Does anyone want to add on to the meal plan?
Okay, yeah, I think you explained it all. Next question is from David. He asks, how does the campus bus system work? And I will give this question to Daria.
The bus system, so there are multiple buses, multiple routes. So one of them is the C1, which is like east-west. And it goes like every 5 minutes. It's like super convenient. Like going to west, it will take you like 7 minutes or so. Like it's super fast and very nice. I love buses. And there's also a bus that goes through Central, which is the C2, which I take when I need to go to west, and it just goes around the dorms on Central Campus. It goes to like Flowers Drive, closer to like the Duke Hospital too. And there's also a CCX, which goes on the weekend and also goes through Central. And then there's a Swift Express bus, which goes to the Swift dorm. And what else? There's also the Science Drive bus, which is very convenient when you have a class in the like one of the buildings that is like further away from the West bus stop, from the chapel. And yeah, I mean, hop on, hop off.
Yeah, and it's really easy. Like it sounds like there's like so many buses, but you'll get the hang of it really quickly. Like the names of the buses are really prominently displayed. I remember my FAC, which is your first year advisory counselor, they like guide you when you get to Duke and they're an upperclassman, told me like you're really fine. Basically, if you get on any bus, just try not to get on the Robertson Express because that will bring you to UNC. So that's just a tip. But otherwise, you're pretty much good. There's an app that you can download called Rider/Translock, and then you can see when the buses are going to come. And they run from 2 a.m. on most weekdays or 4 a.m. on the weekends. So you're pretty much covered. And then after that, you can take a Duke van, which is pretty much a Duke Uber, which you can call from any spot on campus.
Yes, I love Duke Transport. I will say, as a note for freshmen, the C1 is packed. You'll hear this later on as well. The C1 is packed for the first like 2 weeks because like everyone's trying to rush all at once. So for the first like 2 weeks of school, if you have a campus on West, please try to get there like 30 minutes in advance, like not exaggerating. Next question is from Burger with Fries. What is the best way to get involved in student-run organizations? And I will give this one to Sam.
So I'm thinking about freshman year, within the first few weeks, there's a club fair. And at the club fair, like pretty much every student-run organization comes and has their own little booth. And it's usually in the like melting sun. It's so hot, but you pick up like 5,000 flyers and you sign up your net ID on so many groups lists things. So whether you like it or not, for the rest of your Duke career, you're gonna be receiving emails from these student run groups. So like it's just so easy to get involved. Some of them require like applying or trying out and whatnot, but like for the most part, it's so easy to get involved. And it's like a little too easy. I was in way too many clubs first semester and was pretty stressed out. But by second semester, you figure out what actually matters to you and like can really get involved in them.
Yeah, just to like echo that, I remember I joined a bunch of different organizations and then basically like whittled it down from there and figured out like what I was actually interested in and like what made me excited to like go to the different meetings. I remember my freshman year, I'd have like 5 meetings on Sunday and then realized like I didn't love all those 5 organizations. So you figure it out and also you'll meet upperclassmen and see what they're involved in. So I think it's a really easy process. And I found it to be like one of the most exciting parts of like when you join freshman year to figure out like what you want to be involved in on campus because there's so many different organizations. I think there are over 600. So you'll definitely find some that you really like.
Yes, just to echo that, there is that student fair that happens on East, like 3 weeks in. It is boiling hot. I remember like being wet with sweat. However, that's maybe one of my favorite memories of Duke, even though it was so hot, is because it's just so like quintessential college. It's like all these tables lined up like for rows and rows and rows, and there's tons of freshmen and just like flyers everywhere. So yeah, you have to go to that. Very easy way to get involved in clubs. Next question is from Claire. She asked, how does most freshman housing work? Is it mostly suite style or a traditional dorm? So I was obsessed with finding out about dorms before my freshman year, so I can answer this a little bit. I don't know. Some dorms have been altered or like added, so I can't really speak to those, but someone else can. Most of them are traditional dorms, traditional as in there is a bathroom, a shared bathroom down the hall. You and your roommate live in one dorm, and a single if you're lucky, and you have an RA, and there's a common room. Yeah, that's how it usually goes. There's about maybe like 12-ish girls per bathroom. Usually there's a girls and a boys bathroom. You probably won't be sharing bathrooms like same sex. No, different sex, sorry. But there is one suite style dorm, and that is called Wilson. Yes. Wilson has suite style dorms, and I believe that's the only one. It's like 5 rooms per bathroom. Yeah. If anyone else wants to elaborate on any other dorms, feel free.
And your dorm that you'll get placed in will be random. And then most first years will be in a double. So you'll have one roommate, and the roommate is a random process. You're not able to choose your roommate, but it's random based on your just living preferences. So like your sleep, study habits, you fill out like a really short form, and then they'll match you. But you'll most likely be in a double. I lived in Gilbert Adams, which is was one of the biggest dorms. We just had a new one, Trinity, open up, and absolutely loved it.
I will say that there is, I would say, like a big difference in dorms. I lived in East House, which housed, I think, 90 people total, and may or may not be being shut down this year. However, and then there's the new one, and there's Bell Tower, which holds like thousands of people. So I think every dorm has its own characteristics, and everyone has its own personality. Like mine, even though it was very, very old, it was like built in 1918. The kitchen like didn't work. Yeah, but everyone like knew each other, and so it was like one big community. But if you live in, what's that big one? Oh, Gilbert Adams. It's like 4 stories, and there's like a underneath part to it. It's called Gadoo, or Gilbert Adams Down Under, and that's like has like toys and stuff, or not toys. What am I talking about? Like ping pong tables and pool tables. Next question is from Alejandra, and she asked, are there any research opportunities for undergraduates? I don't know anything about this. Darcy might, so I will go to her.
I don't know anything about this either.
Okay, never mind. I thought you did. Does anyone know? Okay, Sam does.
Yeah, I can add something. So Duke has this thing called Bass Connections, which is, I'm not sure how to formally describe it, but it's sort of a way for undergraduates and grad students to get involved with professors and help them with their research that they're currently doing. So my freshman fall, well, normally you have to apply to a Bass Connections team, but one of my focus professors, which we can talk about later, runs what's called the Keenan Refugee Project, and she does research with refugees, and that was something I was really interested in. So I kind of pestered her for a while, and she let me join. And it is the most meaningful thing I do at Duke. I'm in it for my 3rd semester now as a sophomore, and we do research with refugees. We run programs for them. And I think I've flown to DC twice because of them, and I've gotten to lobby Congress and do art therapy research with refugees, and it's just been so awesome. And I'm writing a paper right now that we might present in Oxford if it gets accepted.
Yeah, and around 50% of undergrads will be involved in research. So whether you do like Bass Connections or another program, there's like tons of different research opportunities available. I got like my first research opportunity also from a class. I loved this class on health policy, and it was like an introduction to the US healthcare system. It was kind of like my bread and butter, and our professor just asked if anyone was interested in research and actually matched every single one of us to a research project at the Margolis Center for Health Policy. So that could not have been easier. I think a lot of students will get research opportunities through their professors. I also did a thesis, so if you're interested, you can apply to do an honors thesis in your senior year within your major. I started my junior year. That's just how public policy does the timeline, and that's been one of the most impactful experiences for my like overall Duke 3.5 years. So I definitely recommend doing your research about research and seeing different ways that you can get involved. There's also a lot of like listservs and things about all the different research opportunities, so it's all out there for you to take advantage of.
Okay, Alex asks, is it difficult to get tickets to the Duke basketball games? Okay, so I'll give this to Sam. However, yeah, I'll just give it to Sam.
Yes and no. It depends on what your definition of difficult is. If your definition of difficult is sleeping in a tent for multiple weeks when it's freezing outside, then yes, it's difficult, but it's also so much fun. And I think a lot of people just tent for the experience. I guess I should probably explain what tenting is. Tenting is when you camp out for the basketball games because there just aren't enough spaces in the student section. So it's free. Like you don't have to pay anything for tickets, but you have to camp out. And there's black tenting, which is the longest level. And then there's blue, and then dirty black or dirty blue or something. It depends on the year. And then there's white, which is the shortest amount of time. So I white tented last year, and it was rough. But it was great too. I made so many amazing friends and slept really close next to people that I got to know really well. And then this year I'm black tenting. So I'm excited, and it's worth it. It's great.
I also would add, like, I'm a tenting dropout, so I'm not like the best person to talk about tenting, although it is like a really fun experience. I just don't like sleeping outside. But there are other, like, you can go to other basketball games, like for example on the weekdays. It's a lot easier to get into the basketball games because people have homework and extracurriculars, like a million things to do. So I would say like those are definitely easier to get into. You can just like wait in line for a few hours. So you can always get to a basketball game. I strategically plan which ones I go to so that I can stand in line for the least amount of time. But that's just me. Sam's more diehard.
Yeah, and like I forgot to mention that tenting is just for the UNC game. You can still go to games. My freshman fall and spring, I went to every home game, I think, and it wasn't that hard. The only one that it was hard was like UVA and obviously the UNC game. It's easy.
I would say, yeah, I'm such a priss and was like, I'm never sleeping outside in the cold. But I white tented last year, and I will say that being at the UNC game was like my actual best experience ever. I was like 2 feet away from Mr. Chow from The Hangover, and I was like front row, even though I white tented. And that's rare. Like, don't expect that. But I will say, yeah, tenting is hard. You are sleeping in the freezing cold when you have work for a long amount of time. However, it's something so special and like about Duke. So I think you should do it once before you graduate, but that's just me. Next question is from Eric, and he asks, are any of you guys in the orchestra or band, and can you talk about your experiences? So none of us are in orchestra or band. However, I do have a friend in band, and he really likes it. He really enjoys it. I think it is a big commitment. I think it takes up at least an hour every day, like practicing and such. However, and I think you actually have to arrive to school early. Don't quote me on that. But you do get to go to every home game without fighting for it. And you also have the chance to travel with them to away games, which can be fun if you're a diehard basketball fan.
Yeah, so for band, do you mind if I jump in, Hannah? So for band, it's definitely like a big commitment from friends that I have in it, and you go to basically all the football and basketball games, at least the home ones, and then you try to go to the travel ones as well. I think they have a special system for that for the away games. But like for example, for football, like most of your Saturdays would be taken up by the football games and things like that. So it's definitely a big commitment, but people really enjoy it.
Next question is from Joshua, and he asks, how much time do you usually set aside for homework? And we'll just go down the line. I'm sure each of us can answer this. And I think all of us are different majors, so I mean, it'll vary person to person. So I'm an economics major and I work pretty slowly. So I say on average per day, I set aside 2.5 hours. Sam?
Sorry, couldn't find my microphone. I'm like a pretty fast worker, or maybe too fast, but I probably do about 2 hours a day, and it depends on the day. But this is also, since you're in high school, just a reminder that you're in class not as much as you are in high school. Like this semester, I had one class every day, so I was in class for like 90 minutes every day, and then was able to work, and then had so much free time. But that's not like everyone.
Yeah, I can't like think of an exact number for it because it also just varies so much on the week. And I think that's something that's really different for high school versus college. Like you definitely have like ebbs and flows, and I'll have weeks where I'm super busy. So I'll have to work like quite often, like most of the day, to be honest. And other times where it's a lot lighter, like in the beginning of the school year. I think you get the hang of it a lot through trial and error and just seeing like what works for you and what doesn't. I think like your first midterm season, so your first midterm exams will be probably like some of the most difficult of your college career because you're just learning how to study for them. But it does get easier and easier, like being good with time management. There's a great academic resource center on East Campus too if you have questions specifically about that. But it does vary a lot for me, at least, and it varies every single semester based on which classes I'm taking. I try to balance like writing and reading heavy classes with some that have more exams. That's something I learned because my first semester of college, I was in a ton of reading heavy classes. Like all my classes are reading and writing heavy, and it was a bit overwhelming just to like have all of that at the same time. So I try to balance like the types of assessments that are in my classes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just a terrible procrastinator, so don't be like me, but I would be that person who like has a very inconsistent schedule. So like I would just, like study on the weekend, for example, or I also would just try to find ways to study smarter. So like if I have a reading to do, for example, like I would kind of multitask and just, while I'm like eating breakfast or something like that. So like I never actually have a studying schedule, and I don't like, I'm just very flexible. So I guess it really just depends on the person and the type of classes you're taking.
Yeah, just to add on to what everyone has said, I think it's rare that you'll find someone who has a consistent study schedule. Some weeks you'll have no assignments assigned to you, and yes, you can take time to look over slides, etc. But then other weeks you'll have 3 midterms in a week, and you basically live in the library. So I think it's quite hard to put a number on it. Next question is from Alejandra, and she asks, what is something that you wish you would have known as a freshman? For me, I think, I don't know if this is like good advice. However, I would say at least your first semester freshman year, it's not a great idea to take 4 extremely difficult classes. I remember I was taking Chinese and I didn't know Chinese. I was taking Math 111 and Econ and Comp Sci, and I was just like, and I was trying to make new friends and join all these clubs, and it was like so much. Like I got like overwhelmingly much. So I would say if you have like a set number of classes that you want to take or an idea of what you want to take, I would say for the first semester, just like go on the side of, easier classes if you can.
Yeah, my advice was going to be just relax. Don't put so much, I know it's easy to say, but just don't put so much pressure on yourself. It's your freshman fall. Your grades are not going to be as good as they were in high school, probably. And you're here, like you've made it. Just be happy and meet people. That's the most important thing, is the relationships that you form. And similarly, don't feel like you have to make your best friends first semester. It can sometimes feel like everybody finds their best friends right away, but that's just not true. I am still making new awesome friends all the time.
Yeah, and I would just say to be kind to yourself, like when you're transitioning to college, like it is a big adjustment. You're moving away from home, you're meeting all these new people and all these new classes, and like that's a ton of new things, which is really exciting. But I would just like remind yourself that it can take time to adjust. I think like I just expected myself, like me to adjust like right away, and everything was gonna be great, and had like such high expectations. And you just like need to like, come in with an expectation that not everything's gonna be perfect, and you need to give yourself that time to adjust. I think that's like really helpful to keep in mind because that's something I didn't have in mind until partly through the semester and then realized, okay, it's okay for this to take time. So that'd be my advice for something I wish I had known as a freshman.
I am an international student, so coming to the States like freshman year, it was obviously very hard. And my advice to my younger self would just be um, plan better, but also at the same time be open to change of plans. So I guess, especially with like majors and things like that, it's kind of important to know what you're getting into, like what classes you have ahead of you, like in the years that you're here for. But also like you really don't have to stick to the major you chose, like a freshman fall or something like that. So just stay open minded, but also um, just know what's around you, what opportunities you can take advantage of.
Next question is from Mimi, and the question is, what are your thoughts on Duke Engage? Any tips? So I did Duke Engage, an international program, and then Madison, who will speak later, did a Duke Engage domestic program. So I loved mine. Duke Engage is, I don't know, I think one of the best things about Duke, one of the reasons I applied, one of the reasons that I accepted my offer, one of the, like, all of my good memories are with Duke Engage. No, all of them, but some of my best memories are Duke Engage. And so I did the South Africa Durham program. I had a very small group, 7-ish people. And yeah, I think I changed within that summer, and I would encourage everyone to do it. However, that is not always the experience that people get. I think there's about, I don't know, maybe 30 different groups, a lot of them in different countries and a lot of them in the United States itself. But I think every program is slightly different, and Madison can talk about hers for a little bit.
Yeah, so all of the Duke Engage programs are 8 to 10 weeks, and it's fully funded. So our double Duke alum, Melinda French Gates, actually started the program, which is really cool. And you can also apply to do an independent program. So like come up with a project by yourself and get it funded through Duke Engage, and there's a separate application process for that. I did Duke Engage in New Orleans, which has a public health focus. It started out after Hurricane Katrina, actually just rebuilding in New Orleans, so more engineering focused, but has shifted to public health. So there were 14 of us total. I did this after the summer after my sophomore year. So I lived in New Orleans for 2 months. Absolutely loved it. And I think I learned a lot about myself during that summer and became like much more independent. Also had the opportunity to like live in a new city of New Orleans, and we were each matched with an unpaid internship. And then we had that stipend to use to like furnish the apartment that we were living in on a college campus and things like that, to pay for meals. We cooked a lot, which I also really enjoyed. So with Duke Engage New Orleans, I worked at a child abuse treatment and prevention center called the New Orleans Children's Advocacy Center. It was emotionally exhausting work, but also really invigorating. And I loved learning about a completely new topic. And having that kind of exposure. I actually decided to do my thesis on child abuse prevention, and that all came from that experience on Duke Engage. So it's something that I'm really passionate about and something that I'm really grateful that I did. As a public policy and global health double major, for public policy, there's an internship requirement. And for global health, you'll have this, what's called an experiential learning requirement. And I actually used Duke Engage to fulfill the requirements for both. Because you have to, in order to graduate with the majors, you do have to have those experiences. So that was a great way to fulfill them, a great way to get to know people that I might not have bumped into on campus otherwise. So like have a group of 13 new friends, and get to call another city home and, you know, learn about another city's history. So I definitely recommend applying. There's an entire Duke Engage week where you can learn about the different Duke Engage programs. If you don't get in your first time, I definitely recommend applying again. One piece of advice I have too is like, I think wait to see what you're interested in too, and like not just necessarily just jump and like apply to a bunch of Duke Engage program or like some Duke Engage programs. Really think about like what you might want to major in or what you're interested in and try to make that match. I wouldn't try to like just jump into a Duke Engage program and just do it just to do it, if that makes sense.
The next question is from Lauren, and she asks, could you give us any tips about how to study in college versus in high school? So I'll give this to Sam, and then after Sam, Darcy can add on.
It depends so much on the person. I think even my own study habits change depending on the assignment or what classes I'm taking. But I think, I don't know. In high school, it's sort of somebody is telling you what to do. So I guess the biggest thing that helps is like being able to decide what works for you personally and like trying different things, budgeting your time. Yeah, I have a to-do list and I do things in the order I least want to do them. That helps me personally. I don't know, Daria, you want to add on?
Yeah, I think like the biggest advice I can get is to just find what works for you, because we're just like so different. Like maybe you wouldn't like studying in a library, maybe you like studying at home, maybe you need to go in the nature and like go study in the Duke Gardens or something like that. Just experiment and like find what you actually like, because for me personally, like I love to go off campus, just in a coffee shop somewhere. Like they're just like so many little things that make studying like more fun and like more enjoyable. And even the way you take notes, like either you do it on your laptop or you like write it down. So just try different things. Yeah, that's all. And also just I guess time management, like prioritizing things, because say like if you have a paper due and like like that you're gonna like spend like 4 hours in the paper, like just don't start it at like 8 p.m. or something like that. Like um like being ahead of your schedule is pretty good.
All right. Next question is from Abby, and she asks, can you talk more about the freshman focus programs? I didn't do a focus program, even though I thought about doing one. I actually think I applied and got denied. However, Sam and Madison both did one, so I will give this to Sam.
Yeah, I did the ethics focus, which is where, so in a focus program, just to explain it for those who don't know, you live in the same dorm as the people who are doing your focus, and you get to become really close with them. And you have 2 of your 4 classes are under that focus. And every dinner, I mean, every week you have dinner with your focus group. And it counts as a half credit course, like in addition, the dinner does, because you have conversations. And mine was so awesome because we got to meet so many cool people at these dinners. And also just, I really got to know good people. And now actually that I think of it, this is where the majority of my closest friends came from, now that I'm thinking of it. Yeah, I don't know, Madison, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I loved the ethics focus. I think it's great. Or I did the ethics focus, but there are a variety of focus programs just to like kind of broaden the scope. There's like medieval Renaissance. There's knowledge in the service of society. There's a global health one. So there's a whole actually like focused website, so you can find all the different programs. They're all very interdisciplinary in nature. I love doing the ethics, leadership, and global citizenship focus my freshman year. I think it allowed me just like jump into Duke. You get access to like really high level professors who are super interesting and excited to get to know you. So I took 2 classes. I took a human rights and world politics class. And one of the projects was to create like a mock NGO, which was awesome. Like we had to do a whole project proposal. So I thought that was really valuable. And then I did a service learning class on refugees with Suzanne Shanahan, who's the director of the Ethics Institute and is an absolute rock star at Duke. I'll never forget, like at our first day of focus, she pulled out her laptop and had a Google Doc and had us all sign up to go to lunch with her in Durham, and like just wanted to get to know us. So she like took groups of 3 or 4 of us out to lunch, was like, how's your freshman year going? Like, how can I help? Like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I think that meant a lot to me in my first week of freshman year. And I think focus really allows you to have like some great conversations and really get to know people well within your focus program. I have some of my closest friends from that as well. I think it's about a fourth of students will do a focus program, so don't stress out too much, but you're able to apply to up to 4, I think. So there are some options there.
Next question is from Katie, and she asks, what fun stuff can we expect from orientation week? So I was a freshman 3 years ago, so I don't remember it perfectly. However, I do remember that you get this whole like packet, and it's just so like thick and filled with so many things. And I remember like orientation week being so exhausting. Like I would come back every day and like pass out. But I do remember that there is this like concert that they put on for you. I think usually it's outside, but every year it rains, so then it's inside, but still fun. They get like a DJ and such. And then another fun event is, what was I going to say? The carnival that they throw. I don't know if they still do. I hope they do. But Darcy, do you have anything to add on?
I actually do not remember much because it was a long time ago. I just remember the general feel of like a lot of people being outside on his campus in the quad, and just everyone just like walking around and like talking to each other and stuff like that. It was just like such a great like social experience. Like I've never met like that many people. Like it was so hard to remember everyone's name, but it was very fun, and there was a lot of like food involved too. But I don't really remember like specific events. But every day is like different, and every day is fun, definitely.
Another question is, how does freshman sorority work? How does freshman sorority rush work at Duke? Sorry. I'm not in a sorority, but Madison and Sam are. No, Madison is. So Madison, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so I can talk about this. I'm in a sorority and I did rush my freshman year. What I really like is that we have delayed rush. So recruitment happens in January. So I think that's great because you have like your entire first semester to get to know people. You don't have pressure of like sorority or fraternity recruitment going on. And then also what happens at the same time as Greek rush is selective living group rush. So that's another thing that Sam can talk about. And I think that's great because that's like another opportunity for social groups. In terms of sorority rush, it's very much, it's a pretty formal process. So we have a Pan-Hellenic, oh my gosh, hard to pronounce, like board, and they run the whole rush. It's 2 weekends, so it only happens on the weekends. And they're basically like little parties. So like not actual parties, but like little like group things that you go to just to get to know people. There's like a ton of information on it. Once you get to Duke, there'll be like a little information session. You sign up online, but it doesn't happen until you come back to school in January. I've really enjoyed being part of sorority. I think it's added to my social life, and it's kind of nice because you can really integrate it into the rest of your life at Duke. And I don't think it's overly dominating force in my life either. So it's a good balance.
I'm in an SLG currently. They're the people that I live with. We have a section on West Campus, and SLGs are sort of like living groups, but they're both genders, and they're not affiliated with any sort of Greek national chapter. I was in a sorority also, but realized that I wasn't able to split my time between the two, and realized that I just really connected with my SLG, and they're just awesome. And I feel like, though, don't feel pressured to join a social group when you get here. I think sometimes we can get caught up in the fact that these social groups exist, and they're awesome. If you're a social person, definitely go for it. But I think that like if you're not into it, don't worry about it. You'll still have friends. You'll still have so much fun.
And the last question is, what has been the best experience you've had at Duke so far? And I think I remember coming back every semester, and in the car home, my parents would ask me, so like, what's your favorite thing you've ever done? Or what's the favorite thing you've done this semester? And it's always so hard for me to answer because it's like so many cumulative moments. However, I know the one moment that is stuck out in my brain is like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, was the Duke UNC basketball game. I'm sure a lot of people will say that, especially if you slipped outside to work towards that. However, another thing that I like maybe equally as much is me in my common room, like dingy common room has like, it's kind of smelly, like 4 a.m. in the morning when we have like a midterm, just like chatting about, I don't know, like what we like and our views on such and such. And I don't know. I think it's just so quintessential like college. But Samantha?
Mine mine actually might have happened the other day, or actually like 2 nights ago. I like Hannah, I have so many, but mine was when I was in a dorm room upstairs in one of my friends' rooms, and there was just 5 of us, and we were playing a game. And like 3 hours later, there were 25 of us like packed into this tiny dorm room just playing this game together. And it was so much fun because it's gotten to the point where we all know each other so well. And it just like, it feels like a massive family. And like, it doesn't matter. We're all squashed in this room because we're just having fun. So yeah, just like those little dorm room moments like that. Not to sound cheesy.
I remember, this is UNC related, but like the bench burning when we do, when we like beat UNC, I think that's like also very quintessential Duke. But when you're like sitting on the quad burning the benches, there's a fire marshal there too. Like you do feel like so connected and part of the Duke community. And what I love about that is like everyone from all aspects of the Duke community will come out. Like people who you might not have met before, but you might be seeing them in your classes. Like you're really good friends. Like everyone comes together on Able Quad to burn the benches. And I just think like that's a really fun atmosphere and moment. So that's like probably one of my favorite Duke memories. We've burned the benches several times since I've been here. So I like always love those moments. I've also, like Sam and Hannah said, like all the little moments with friends. And I think like the first time, like during my first semester at Duke, that I started referring to Duke as home was really exciting for me too. Like when I felt like I had found my niche and my people. So I think there are like lots of little moments. I like Duke Engage a lot. Really enjoy doing a thesis. So like lots of moments that it makes it really hard to choose, which I think is a great feeling to have too.
One of my favorite moments was freshman year fall break. A lot of people left, but some people stayed in the dorm. So there was the group of like 15 people maybe. And the whole fall break, we just stayed up until like 5 a.m. and we were just watching Stranger Things. And it just felt so nice. Like, because as an international student, like I don't get to go home, and like having somebody around and just like enjoying the fall break with them was very great. Another experience that I really loved was a couple of weeks ago. We had my figure skating club had a night at the rink event. So basically, a bunch of students just came to the ice rink, and we just all skated together. And there was like a lot of food, and it just felt so great because it's something that I'm passionate about, and I just loved like seeing people like skating and just being so like stress free and almost like looking like little kids. It just like felt so great be doing something that I love with the people I love.
She's also really good at ice skating, just like a little plug. She's not going to say it, but she's really, really talented. So
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in on our question and answer chat. There will be another one, I think, like far in the future for the regular decision candidates. If you think of another question, you can write it down. Oh, sorry, it'll be in April. You can write it down, or if you know someone who wanted to join this chat but couldn't make it, just let them know that there will be another one in April, and we'll do the exact same thing, but maybe different people. Yeah. And don't forget to follow Duke Students on social media. It's just at Duke Students. We post amazing content on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, and Spotify, and YouTube. All of those. Okay. Bye.
bye.